And we are live.
Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. Um, we are going to tackle a few things today on stream. The first is we need to uh, do the edits for the con exclusive Lunette. So I need to just finish that up real quick, and hopefully that won't take too much time. But I've already started. So here, one of the big issues that we noticed after we did our test prints was that the head was far too small in comparison to the rest of the mini and in comparison to other minis that we have laying around. So we needed to fix that. So here is where the head was in size when we did the test print. Can you see this?
I'm posting links, but I
Okay.
see her. Yeah.
Okay, so here's where the head size originally was,
hmm
and I've enlarged it to this, which I think
I couldn't see the
will be
difference.
enough.
Can you repeat that?
Sure. So here is the original size of the head,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
and here is the new size of the head.
That's a big difference.
It's a very big difference, but I think hopefully this will work better.
Yeah, I think it will.
I don't know what happened to this file, but somehow, oh, there it goes. Okay, the bracer was just not visible. That was weird. All
Okay.
right. Um, so this is not lined up for some reason. Fix that. One of the other things we noticed was that this boot did not come as far up the leg as the other boot. So we gotta fix it. Boom, done. So this one falls just below the kneecap, which did look good in the print. This one felt a little bit short and uh, came about midway down the calf. So smile, smile. This is the poly painted version of Lunette. I'm glad we didn't lose that completely.
Wait, I need a smiling version of you with the model visible.
Okay, hang on, hang on.
All right. All right. All right. All right.
Let me wait. Let me just fix this poly paint so fast and
So fast.
then so fast. And then you can have a screenshot. Boom. Okay, now we're fixed. And now you can have a screenshot.
All right. Perfect.
Okay, so oh, I didn't even think about this when we were working on the poly paint. But remember how I did this coloring on the base here, which obviously this is not like the base that she's gonna come on because she has a scenic base. But um, I one of the statements that I had said when we were copying the reference was like, no matter what my scenic base is gonna be, I would just copy the colors from the reference that we chose.
Yeah.
Which was this in the picture, it was like a reflection of the flowers on the water. But in the context of the base that she ends up getting, it would be blood spilled on the battleground beneath her
Okay.
with this like fuchsia red. I guess it's not fuchsia, but it's a bright pink red,
Right.
which I just find those kind of things funny and entertaining where it's like it was actually a lotus flower, but in this context it's going to be blood.
Not blood.
Okay, so help me remember all the things we need to fix. number 1 was the head size. Fix that. Number 2 was the boot. We fixed that.
And I feel like we had a list for this. Didn't we have a list?
I think we did, but it's probably in my planner, which is on the table.
I can
I
find
know
a
that
planner.
I wanted to duplicate this gemstone from the one bracer to the other, but you said that you weren't sure about that. Did we change our minds about that?
I wasn't sure if it was necessary. I think the choice is up to you whether you would like to duplicate that or not.
I think it feels better to have it symmetrical.
Then you do
but I'm kind of like partial to symmetry, so maybe that's just me.
Well, we can come back to that. Did you find the listings in your little book? Also,
no, I didn't.
I can't see chat. That's problematic.
Oh no.
Yeah. Console.
Got edit notes from the other monk bunny girl, but yeah, I don't know where I wrote that. I wrote it down somewhere and then I lost it. I do know that the book, we had some concerns about this book a lot.
Yes, we did.
Number 1 was that the pages didn't come out far enough, like close enough to the edge here.
Okay.
So if I move that there, that's like, that pretty much closes that gap. Don't you think?
I was trying to fix the stream, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Here's where it was when we test printed it. And you can see the gap between where the pages are and the bracer here.
Yeah, very difficult to paint.
And this is where I've put it now.
Also the sides.
And this is like,
that
gap shouldn't be there because you can't paint that anyway. So we're just going to move that bracer down. Cheating. We're cheating, guys. Okay, cheat complete. The other thing was that you were very concerned about the thickness of the book covers. Is that right?
Yes, the book covers were a little too thin for how recessed the pages were. But if the pages are closer to the cover, I think it'll be okay because then it's a little detail. I still think they could be a little thicker because on the print, they are molecularly small. I think for this, you should include your millimeter sizing cube before we go further with resizing.
Let's see. Before I go pulling through all my file types, can you look at the production files and tell me what her size is?
Yes, I can do that.
The baseless version of her?
Yeah.
If we did a baseless version of her?
I'm still trying to find chat, which kind of sucks.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to do while we're...
I mean, if nothing else, you could just pull it up in a browser, right?
Yeah. Probably.
I mean, that's an easy solution.
Yeah, I can do that. Let me start with that, and then I'll go find your file size.
Okay. I don't know. Now I'm feeling like the head might be too big. I don't know.
Feeling like the head was too big was was going to be a thing, right?
This model, and this figure in particular, has a lot of forced perspective because she's looking so far up and she's got the sword above her head. So there's a lot of like forced perspective that I've built into the composition of this piece. So it's not really intended to be viewed from this angle at all. If anything, it's like intended to be viewed from here. So I think that the larger head scale is going to work well
I think it might
to
still
aid
not be
itself.
large enough, honestly. One of the things you were aiming
It's like
for very
three
heavy here
times
was a
bigger
very
than.
traditional sized mini. And those had much bigger heads than modern day ratios. Now, I'm not saying you need to grow it again, but it was minuscule on the
Yeah,
previous.
I agree. It was far too small on that version. But I'm thinking like this is a good 3 times.
I think this is about normal size for a head for you, maybe even a little smaller. Do not shrink that. Don't do it.
What did I do? I took away all the poly paint somehow.
Oh
I don't know
no.
how I did that.
I think we've done very little here. You can load the saved file.
No, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, we don't want this. Let's not try to re-poly paint. We can just start it over. You've done
Okay, wait, maybe there was a
paintbrush is turned
autosave.
off on the head.
Oh, okay, good.
Epic Adventure
I was like,
Miniatures noticed that.
ah,
Hello, Eric Jackson. Hello, Epic Adventure Miniatures.
scared me. Well, before that happens again, I'm gonna.
Save. Hey, she learns sometimes. I don't know why I'm picking up so much ambient noise on my microphone today.
On
Yeah,
yours?
everything you say, I'm also picking up on my mic.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, really strange. So we'll try lowering my volume down a bit. Maybe that will help.
Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna. Now the book is like a little challenging because the space between the other elements is so small in this area between
Yeah.
her
Well,
gauntlet and the book
let's bring the.
detailing.
But we can see. So we brought a 1 millimeter stick in. Is that what we did?
No, I don't. I can't scale it until you tell me what the scale is.
Oh, I see. Now I understand. I was like, I don't understand what we're doing. Okay.
I was just waiting for you to figure out the tech stuff so that we could scale this.
Where is it saved?
Probably test print folder.
All right. I'll check the test print folder.
I don't know how many of you guys were here when we did the color study analysis for this figure, but it is something that several people contacted me afterwards and was saying that they really wanted to see more of. Um, and while I was doing my workout today, I was watching some YouTube videos from Sam Does Art on YouTube, and
Mm-hmm.
he was doing some master studies, um,
Real quick,
which is
63.56 millimeters.
60, 63.56.
Yeah.
Did I have the right subtool selected? We'll see. That's gonna really suck if I didn't. Actually, it won't be too bad to fix. Um, anyway, he was doing some master studies, which is something that it's a pretty common technique in art school where you take a known master like Rembrandt or Michelangelo and you break down some elements of their work and then you try to duplicate those things that you noticed or things that you like about it into your own
Right.
work. Yeah, I did have the right subtool selected. Look at me, right the first time. Okay. Um, and It's been a long time since I've done one of those. I have done them like post art school, but but it's been a while since I've done them, and I thought it might be interesting to uh, to work it into our stream schedule where maybe like once a month or something we can do a color study of like a master color study and apply it to one of our figures.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's something you guys would think is cool.
Epic said, I got you, boo, in regards to the paintbrush that was turned off.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so this is still about half a millimeter, even after I thickened it. So it was probably about a third of a millimeter before I thickened it. Actually, no, we can't because that was scaled. Anyway, so the book covers were about a third of a millimeter on our test print. And looking at after I've thickened it, we're up to about half a millimeter in thickness for each book cover.
Okay.
What do you think? Do you think we should make it bigger than that?
I think that's probably big enough. A half a millimeter is a lot better than the quarter of a millimeter that it was.
Yeah.
And as long as the pages are coming closer to the edge of the book, both front and back, and like you filled closer to her gauntlet, did you do the same thing towards the viewer?
Oh, like out. No, I can do that though.
Doesn't need to be a lot. Maybe cut that distance in to like 2/3 or a half.
Okay, so I think that'll probably work better.
Yeah.
I think our moon got displaced here. Gonna fix that. That's better.
I'm not sure the moon is adding anything because you surely can't tell that it's a moon.
I mean, that's fair.
I
That's
think it's just going
true.
to read as deformed glove.
Probably can't paint it.
Yeah, it's just going to read as
Uh,
mutated hand, I think.
okay, we'll just delete that. Okay, I know that there was some depth issues that you found. I'm trying to remember where. I think it was here, right? In between this breastplate piece.
Hmm.
Hello?
Oh, I didn't know you were talking to me. Sorry. I thought you were explaining while I was trying to fix our chat problem. Okay, what are we doing?
You had said that there was an issue with depth. I believe it was in this area. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, I think it was on the other side primarily.
I thought it was here because you were saying this was too.
Let me see if I can find the actual model. Do you know where she went? Oh, here she is. I found her.
Which looking at it,
No, it's under
you
the
probably
raised sword arm side. Although these could be a little thicker too.
raise sword arm side.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
so
those straps don't protrude enough from the breastplate to really be visible or paintable.
okay. Like these thicker.
Here she is. Now the ones on the other side, the top one looks mostly okay, but the bottom one could be a little more, and it wouldn't hurt to make the top one a little more too. Now you didn't like the fabric at the front or the back of the model hanging for her cape or for her sarong. I don't know. I don't know the proper term for that piece of fabric hanging from her belt. Belt cape?
Actually, my biggest issue wasn't with the front fabric because I liked the front fabric. It was the
Okay.
back fabric because the cloak I felt looked a little sloppy. I don't know. Capes kind of tend to be a pet peeve for me in miniatures because a lot of times either they just look way too computer generated, like way too even
Oh,
and
I see.
structured, or they're like just lazy where like it's just swoop to one side or something,
So
or like
one thing we could do with the cloak on the back, one, you're covering up her keister, which booty's visible is always better, particularly if you've sculpted it uh, already. What if we took this outside, so I'm showing you on the actual model here, if we took this outside part and folded it starting about here to curl,
okay.
then you'd be able to see her butt, which that's a positive, and it would look a little more dynamic.
Okay, we'll try that.
And also, Epic replied to you talking about color stuff and said, heck yes, color theory brigade. Okay, so this will work.
Awesome. One of my ideas isn't crazy. Oh yeah. Look at this. I forgot to even put the little
The beads on that side. That's what was
yeah,
wrong.
the rivets. Yeah.
In fact, that's what happened because
I
I
was
looked at that side and I said, oh, she could use some rivets here when we looked at it under magnification. Then you said, yeah, they're there. I'm like, well, then they need to be bigger.
I thought that I did, but then I didn't.
Yeah.
Some things like that tend to slip through the cracks sometimes where it's like, I thought that I put this gemstone on both bracers. I did not.
But you didn't. But you didn't.
I thought that I did these little rivets on both sides. I did not.
That's like the times you thought you sculpted a hand, but didn't actually sculpt the hand.
No, that's just avoiding my responsibilities.
Let's see.
See you, baby artists, avoiding your hand responsibilities. I relate. The struggle never goes away.
Epic says, need to see at least one buttock. Ever since watching Forrest Gump, I love that word. To which Phalandar replied, I was shot in the buttocks.
6.3. So I'm going to scale this down so that my brushes
Work?
actually work again.
Yeah.
Please ignore the, the not safe for work part there.
Oops.
Oops.
Was it an oops?
You didn't see anything. I really gotta stop sculpting nipples.
At least probably stop painting them.
That's the fun part. Don't tell me what to do, Travis. Okay, so I'm gonna gemstone. I'm gonna make a folder for this, and then I'm gonna duplicate the folder,
Okay.
and then I'm gonna put this on the other side. This is one of those like digital sculpting hacks that you kind of feel bad for using. You're like, I could just duplicate both of these and put it on the other side. But I think every medium has its strengths, and if you're not using them, then why are you using that medium?
And which strength are we talking about right this second?
The fact that I can just duplicate this one side and then put it on the other side,
Oh, I see.
that's a strength of digital sculpting that traditional sculpting does not share,
Epic says, duplicate slash mirror changed my life.
right? You know what changed my life? Smooth brush. All hail. I shall forever worship the smooth brush because in traditional clay, I would spend most of my time just smoothing material. Like, I swear 80% of a sculpt is just like smoothing material.
Smoothing. We're blending
We're
and
blending, we're
blending.
blending.
Epic
Yeah,
says, that and orb cracks.
yes, or crack is heaven sent. Okay, so trying to think of any other edits that we thought of. Oh, the cape. I gotta fix the cape. Right, right. I know Bryce is gonna kill me if I don't look up a reference for this. So that's the thing about having good friends. They keep you honest.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, you cheaped out. Like, I know, stop calling me out. So in order to avoid Bryce's wrath, we're gonna look up flowing capes. I love that this is like just a thing that people wear, like in fashion. It's just like, that's actually a thing. Just
Mm-hmm.
people just wear this every. Sometimes they give it a fancy name like a bolero, but we all know they're just wearing capes. Ooh, look at this. This is some nice cape reference right here. It is
Mm-hmm.
not it's not what I need right now for this particular model, but that's some nice cape reference. Yeah, that's what I need. Like superhero, like Superman, because Superman always has his cape flowing like way the fuck out there.
You have to Google like twisting cape. I think
with
flag is another
cape.
really good option.
Oh, look at that woman's cape. It's crazy. Blowing flag.
Mm-hmm. Epic
Do,
once.
do, do, do.
No, that ain't happening. I'm not modeling a cape. Uh,
We don't have the right weather conditions.
Trash says, I demand entertainment. But are you entertained? Epic says, true, sometimes the need to slack overwhelms good judgment.
Yeah.
Valandar says, and now I have 3 days to paint as my clients are on vacation at cons, dealing with getting their younglings into special schools. Awesome. Grazietti said, there will be plenty of entertainment at ReaperCon. Get yourself up here. Yes, yes, yes. Trash says, maybe. Hey, that's a better answer than he was giving before.
Hey, we're working and we're gonna get it.
Uh, Valandar says, a banner. Get an image of a flowing banner.
I kind of like this one where it's like it's got this twisting happening here.
What a twist.
But I think he might be right about the banner because the banner is gonna hang vertically instead of
Yeah.
horizontally, and that's gonna fall differently.
Mm-hmm. Trash says, it will really come down to how things are post Gen Con. And Epic says, not even with a towel or a bed sheet? Nope.
Don't worry, I have a stockpile of incriminating reference photos. What are those the things that, okay, here's like, yeah, vertical flags. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, but they have it like secured by one side. Lame.
It probably is usually secured on one side, but you could probably search vertical flags or vertical flags blowing in the wind.
Vertical flags. Try
Grazieri
that.
says, he'll model, you just have to find the right prop. Find a classic sports car, he's game.
We already have one of those.
That's true, we do.
Doesn't work currently, but we have one.
Yeah. Wah, wah, wah. Trash says, oh, so I'm backing this RPG coming out at Gen Con that will be 100% Christie's Minnie's spirit animal.
Oh, really? Oh, do tell. Do tell. Must know.
Let's see. While you're
Even though
looking,
we just spent like all that money on the Massive Darkness Kickstarter.
we did. Yeah. A lot of money on the Massive Darkness Kickstarter.
And oh my God, guys, we've been spending so much money on like con prep stuff, but we've leveled up all of our packaging for shipping stuff out
I'm pretty happy with our
and
packaging.
got like a bunch of resin so we can finish doing all of our printing. Okay, this is not working.
Yeah. I'm pulling up something more interesting than your flag browsing.
Oh,
Here we have
thanks.
here we have the Camelot set and the Pirate set. This is the Neverland Pirate set, which I think is going to be super cool models for Spelljammer. These will make some great space pirates. And then the Camelot set, well, that's just cool. All right, put you away. More capes.
More capes. This is like, I'm
Maybe
not gonna
look
say.
at clotheslines. Windy clotheslines.
That's a really good idea. Have I told you lately you're so smart?
No,
You're so smart.
you only lie to me like that on special occasions. Uh,
Ooh, oh, look at this one. This is a painting, but it's like kind of nice.
let's see. Trash says, "Oh, so I'm backing." Oh, yeah, about that RPG. He said, or not Gen Con, but will be crowdfunded at Gen Con. And then Epic says, "Alcohol always helps me model. That is one of the more endearing things that was shared in the Eye of the Beholder art of D&D documentary. Artists taking photos of each other, posing for classic paintings." And then Trash linked that backer kit, and I'll send that to you. Do 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 do. Land of Eam. He said there are
And
100% some Christine-esque critters in that. And Epic says, "Oh, for sure, they need some Christine minis with that Kickstarter." Grazieri said, "I have the Neverland Pirates. One day I may actually paint them. I didn't think about their possible use for Spelljammer, but that was a good idea." I'm trying to find someone to design us a 3D printable ship, because that is not Christie's strong suit. But
it would take me like an absolute eternity to try
yeah,
to sculpt that.
we could always try to hit up Chris Lewis too. He might be willing to sell us one if he has time.
I think he's still mad at me about the bunny girl thing.
He's mad about the bunny girls.
No, probably not.
He was mad about the bunny girls.
I think he was like perturbed that I agreed to do a collab thing and then I didn't do it.
Oh, that bunny girl thing. I forgot that was supposed to be a bunny girl.
Yeah.
I totally spaced that
Which was
collab.
like totally fair.
Yeah. So I don't like what you're doing with the bottom of this. I really liked the tattered bottom of her cloak before, and it's lost that. If you answered me, your mic didn't pick it up.
I said, okay,
Oh, you got
I
some
will.
wonky geometry there, huh?
Yeah, I don't know what happened with this. We're just gonna break that off. This never happened. And I almost deleted the wrong thing. So I'm so glad that I double checked that. Always double check your subtool before you delete.
Mm-hmm.
This has been a public service announcement.
A public service announcement. Damn it. I was about to put my coffee in the microwave and then remembered if I use the microwave, it kills the stream.
Don't do that.
Yeah. So instead, make more coffee. Other solution.
Problem solving 101.
Mm-hmm.
How to get The much needed coffee.
Well, I think you hit it on the head with Problem Solving 101. Step 1, make coffee. It's a great first
Yeah.
step to any problem. And if the problem is extra big, you just make extra strong coffee. See how easy that works? Then if the problem
Easy.
is big enough, then you put rum in the coffee. So I tried to set up this chatbot. I set up the Streamlabs chat stuff, the bot stuff, and I can't even get it to connect to her channel. Yeah.
No!
I don't know what I'm doing wrong. This stuff sucks.
We did try.
I mean, I tried.
We did. Yeah, you did work on bot stuff.
I did for hours, and still no bot.
Officially not due to lack of trying. So I thought all of these wrinkles were gonna get covered by the cloak, but now that they're not, we gotta fix them. But I think we can get back this tattered look.
Okay,
I
all the
just-
prints in there are doing good. Everything is functional. Good shape.
Cool.
We've got all kinds of stuff printing out for the con. All right, I'm gonna catch up on chat. Valandar says he just primed Sam, and he's totally undecided on painting him like Toucan Sam or like a real toucan. Epic says,
Oh.
oh God, me too. Been thinking of doing that one. Trash says, there are some people who does have 4D printable Spelljammer boats and 5D, but no 6D. There are a few flying ship STLs out there already. Epic says, I'm spoiled with arcane mini ships and accessible decks, so now I want to make one.
Yeah.
Epic says.
Yeah, if I could just get Arcane to like make me a ship, that'd be great.
That's actually who I reached out to. We'll see.
They've got such good ships.
But I mean, Chris also did design Maiden of the High Seas, which also has below decks.
You mean
Sorry,
Sophie's
Revenge. Maiden of the High Seas was the old Denny Unger WorldWorks one. Yeah.
I was like, what ship is that? What are we talking about?
That's the paper ship that we have in the garage.
Oh, right.
Which is pretty cool. I mean, honestly, that's one of my favorite ships, but that's a different story. Epic says rum and coffee equals Kyle modeling capes. It's canon. No, still no. Valandar says, I don't know. While I love painting minis by other sculptors like Christie, there's a special feeling when you hold it in your hand, something that was yours, creation from start to finish. If I printed a flying ship on my filament printer, I'd probably try to design it myself. Art of Mike Disney says, hello there. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike. How are you? Great to see you.
How are you doing today?
Hope you and Taryn are doing well. We're just doing some edits to the Moonlight Minis Con exclusive right now. Oh, also, so we're I still have to finalize the trophy. But I did some reworking on the pose and I wasn't sure which way was better. So I put a poll up on Discord. And if you haven't voted yet, go vote.
And see,
Tell me which one you like better.
my struggle there is I like elements of both.
If you like both, feel free to say that. That's fine too.
Well, it's not that I like both. I like elements of both. That's not the same thing.
Okay, nitpicky.
I am. I'm very nitpicky.
Our cloak is like a little muddy. We want to make it not so clean. Yeah, you guys like created a monster because after I did this color study, I did like 4 more because I had fun and I wanted to. And we needed new renders for things, so like I used it as an excuse. Oh, the other thing that we were talking about was this the cloak part around the neck not reading properly. And we weren't sure if we should like line it up with this breastplate or if we should just like really make it asymmetrical. I think the strong diagonal really has like strong compositional benefits, but I also don't want to be too hung up on that if
Yeah, I think
it's not working as well.
my struggle with it was primarily that how it hung created a tangent with the center of the breastplate, and at scale, it looked like it was part of the breastplate. Mike says he's doing good, and he wants to know what Mike Disney Epic wants to know what Mike's going to be painting today. And
If you guys don't follow Art of Mike Disney, definitely do so. He's a great painter and a great friend. Definitely worth following along.
And there's a discount code for his stream. See, I was hoping the shout out would work. I still don't have that working right. So frustrating. Just the fact that it requires 5 different pieces of software to accomplish something that should take one is what makes it hard. But I'll go get it and manually copy paste it. And Mike says the spacefarers are amazing.
Oh, I'm glad you like them.
Well then, yeah. Here we go.
Okay, so I'm also going to bring this breastplate up through the top here so that it overhangs. What do you think of that? Do you think that will solve the issue?
I think so. Do you think it will?
Yeah. Okay. Do you like this cape now? I like it now.
Mm-hmm.
You do?
Yeah, I think it could use a little more unevenness to the bottom of it. Right, the bottom of it's very even, and that could be dialed down some. Oh, that's too quiet. How about there? Yeah, that could be punched up some to get a little more variety. Yeah. Now rotate around. Let me see the other part. No, from the side.
Hang on, I gotta
Okay.
fix this.
You breaking stuff again?
Always. Always breaking stuff and then fixing it.
Break it and fix it and break it
Okay.
and fix it. This is not working.
What is not working?
I'm trying to get the thing to work to link Mike Disney's stream. I really want this to work.
Yeah. Okay, let me think.
I fail at this entirely, so I'm just going to do it manually. Epic says, I'm sure you covered this already in your color study, but did you use any references to determine the color palette of this model? It looks like an impressionist color palette.
Did.
It was actually the first one you did on stream with a reference palette.
Yeah. I'll pull up the reference that we used. Which I posted to Instagram. But Instagram is not working for me at the moment for some weird reason. But right here on the right is our,
There you go.
can you not see it?
I can see now. Yeah.
So in this center row on the right, we use this,
Right click
I
it
don't know.
and select open link in new tab.
Oh, okay, that worked. There we go. So yeah, so we selected this image, and then we started listing out what we felt about it, that it was very like hopeful and feminine and peaceful, sort of like that quiet moment but there's a lot of vibrancy to it. So then we tried to map out in proportion what colors we were seeing in the palette in the image versus where we could apply that in the mini. And then we looked for those little special colors that really helped vibrate the rest of the colors. In this one, we found a very light key, like a high key lime green up here in the whites. And we found a periwinkle gray over here in the central petals that really worked well to bring that extra little prettiness.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was our reference picture. And if you don't follow me on Instagram, Moonlight Minis Official, I try to post some things like this. Here's a color study I did of Reaper's Rask, the Hairfolk Rogue that I sculpted for Reaper. But I also do these like color palette studies where I show you the reference image that I used, and then I lay out sort of like a palette of the colors that I see, and then like a final, this is how I applied those colors. So if you like that sort of thing and you want to follow along, I do try to post those on my Instagram. Okay. Now I am done with the fixing the front of this cloak. That was totally not working at all, but now it's working just fine. So
Okay.
here's the front. Here's the back.
Something about the top of the front of the cloak is too upwardly curved. When you're looking at her from the front, from the back it looks great, but from the front,
Okay.
there's
Uh-huh.
a upward bow to it for the silhouette that I don't think is quite selling it as blowing. It's just too straight.
What if we brought that part in?
Yeah, I think that helps, and maybe flip up the end of it, like a little upward tick. Epic says, I'm a bad friend. I thought I was already following your Instagram.
I think this upward tick is leading you out of the composition.
Okay, well, the
I
top of
don't.
it needs an S curve of some kind. So if you're not liking the upward tick on the outside, that whole piece is just a C coming back towards the foot, and it's not fluid
I mean,
enough.
we can go out here. No, that makes her look fat. Can't go out there.
Mm-mm. You can go in there. Ah, that's working for me. You didn't like that? Oh,
No, I
okay.
did.
You put it back.
No, I didn't.
Oh, I was talking to something you did earlier and put back. You pushed in the top part of it.
Yeah, I did. I kept it there.
Hmm. Okay. Well, either way, it's better now. You could probably lengthen the tip of that at the very end a little bit too. Oh, I was watching on the same place I'm watching chat, so I was behind a little. Old school problems.
Uh,
Yeah, that little orange tip, I'd drag it down, drag it out some, give it a little more length.
oh, are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Okay.
better. You don't like it? Okay.
No.
Well, then don't. It's not that big a deal. I think I'm disliking the very flat line, tan line at the bottom of it that's a tangent to the feather. I'm being super nitpicky.
I see that. That's what makes it better.
That's true. Little details matter. We have a first-time chat viewer, Art Treyes. Artreus. Oh, that's a cool name. Artreus1. Hello, Artreus.
Hello. Thanks for popping in.
Uh, Bill the Master Crafter says, good noon, everyone. Hey, Bill.
Hey. We just got everybody in chat today.
Yeah. Well, not everybody. There are only like 10 people here. So it's a small audience, but the in crowd. Uh, there's a link for the new folks. You can find all of Christie's models there. You can either get them as STLs on My Mini Factory, or we'll ship them to you from Etsy.
See, yeah.
Oh, and for people that are out of country, we partnered up with a company to get them models too, right? Little.
Yeah, Only Games. They've recently partnered with My Mini Factory to start offering physical miniatures, which we hadn't done initially because we were already offering physical miniatures ourselves. But the more we talked about it, the more we were like, well, yeah, but we don't really have the ability to send overseas or international, and this would be a really good solution for those folks. So,
Oh, Grazietti gifted a tier 1 sub to Bryce.
aw, thanks, Grazietti. That's very sweet of you. I forgot, but now I remembered. We said we didn't like this notch down here.
Oh, I'm looking at the model again. Notch down there. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So show them what you're talking about and why.
This the bottom of the sleeve here. I had put the notch on the bottom to help indicate like weight displacement where it was like falling.
Back up a little and show them the notch.
Oh, okay. So there's the notch. But on this arm, it's like on her inner bicep,
Yeah.
which if that fell would be like here. I don't want to make a tangent with her arm, but like
Yeah. I like that a lot better. So this one we actually played with the orientation of a little bit too for supports, which just continuing to develop that craft, right?
yeah.
Let me see the back of her now. I want to compare her to the back of the physical model. So the notch, when it was at the bottom of her sleeves, made the shirt read not as a shirt, but more as like a piece of cloth over the shoulder. Yeah, I think that works. You'll have to touch up her booty, but other than that.
Okay, I'm trying to remember if there's anything else. We had like we had this like whole list of things to fix,
I
and
think
then Kyle was like, "That was it, though."
it was a
Like,
long list. Okay, so the head was too small.
like 12 things.
The cloak around her neck created a tangent to the center of her breastplate. We fixed that. The uh, the leather straps on the side of the breastplate needed to be beefed up, but you've done that already. Well, you were going to move the dagger or the arrow on the base further into the base.
Yeah, but this file doesn't have the base.
Okay. Um, the boot needed to be fixed. We fixed the boot. The book needed to be fixed, and you fixed the book. You wanted to address the cloak because you didn't like that. Uh, incidentally, the boots from the back were in good shape. Just making sure you didn't tweak those too much. Looks like you just lowered down the front of one of them a lot further than the other. And the notch, obviously, we fixed that. The depth of the pages on the book and the size of the cover of the book, and both of those are fixed. And then you were considering adding the gem to the bracer, and I think you've done that already too, right?
Yeah, I did that.
Okay, I think we're ready to fix the base. Uh, Epic Adventures Miniature says, clean up the booty, AKK, the old Van Patten pat down.
What's wrong with it?
The right side is a little saggy.
Well,
I think you probably just,
it just has a wrinkle.
no, but under the cloak, the right side is reading as flat-ish compared to the other. It does not look like your normal booties, but you'd left it that way because it was covered. So you should probably hide the cloak and touch it up. Cross says to Bryce, you can pay me back by teaching an awesome bases and dioramas class at ReaperCon. It's not easy to teach a raging student. Well, our new viewer, where did they go? Archeraeus. How did you find our stream, Archeraeus? Just browsing around?
This is the show where we fix booties and try to hide nipples.
Do you really try, though? I feel like you're not even trying.
You do try though.
Uh-huh.
That's the sad part. We're definitely gonna get banned on Twitch one of these days.
Yeah.
All right, is it better?
I think so. Turn the cloak back on and let's see.
But I did.
Oh, I'm a little behind still then. Still something off from this distance. There's either a crease or something that's making the bottom of her butt look lower than the actual sculpt on her right cheek. Left cheek, right cheek, left cheek, right cheek. Do you see it?
No.
You're probably
I
not
don't
zoomed out
see
far
it.
enough compared to where we're at. Zoom out further so she looks much smaller to you. And you'll see it, I think. That is the opposite of out.
don't. I don't see it. I'm sorry.
We'll print it and see if it looks like that on the print, and we can touch it up if we need to. I think I think it's that from a specific distance, and so now that I'm seeing it much smaller, it might not even be a factor. But there's a specific distance where it doesn't look like two individual butt cheeks. It looks like one U-shaped butt, and that's obviously not positive. Uh,
Like
but
she
it might
does
not
have
look that
pants
way.
on.
Right. But you don't want that. You don't want it to look like saggy booty. You want it to look like sexy booty, right?
Right, yeah.
But it might already. So we'll print it out and we'll see before we go tweaking it that much. Okay, so I think that's everything we wanted to do to this mini. Let's
Except for the base.
accept the base. Yeah.
Because it's all about that bass. I don't like this. Completely unnecessary depth.
What depth are we talking about? Oh, between the straps. Yeah, that was one of the things that we saw. I forgot about that. Do we need some gap fill behind her back between the cloak there too?
Yeah, all this, like, I don't put the gap fill stuff in this file, so none of it is there.
Gotcha. Okay.
All of the places that need gap fill
All right.
are not there.
Now,
Okay,
you've
so
had feedback from a lot of SDLs originally, before people print them, saying, ooh, this, what is this big glob here? Why is this here? Can we
yeah,
get rid of this? And then they print it and they're like, oh, no, actually, yeah, this is good.
so much better.
Yeah, but why?
Uh, One, it's more structurally sound. Two, it is easier to paint. And three, it is easier to support and or cast if you're intending to cast. There's there's a lot of reasons. Gap fill is important.
The pirate with the anchor. I'll pull him up on this turnaround. We can look at that. He has a lot of gap fill, which that's a that's a concern for some folks when they first look at the STL. Captain Hook has a decent amount of gap fill too. You just can't see it, which is the ultimate gap fill, right? But like the anchor pirate has gap fill between the chain and his body, which again you can't really see unless you're scrutinizing the STL. You can see it a little bit when you're painting it, but when you're painting it, you realize, oh, this is just giving me the opportunity to control the shadow. Here he comes around again. So you can see it. You can't see it from this angle at all. It's completely hidden. But between the chain and his body is a little bit of gap fill, which you would paint your shadow color, right? What color would you paint that? I'll see if I can get
What are we talking about?
the
I was
gap
trying to.
fill on the anchor pirate. I'll see if I can get our camera higher so we can look down at him some. And in focus. That's going to be the real challenge. Let's see. It is not managing to focus. Okay, so that's still a little out of focus. Got to come back a little more. Okay, that's handling that okay now. Here, I'll just put him on the ground so he doesn't turn around. Hashtag super professional looking, right? Okay, so he has, maybe if I prop him up. Okay, if you're looking top down at him, you can see it in there. There-ish. Yeah, so you can see the gap fill in there, which ideally we try not to do visible from top down, but sometimes you can. So what color, how would you choose what color to paint that gap fill that's allowing his chain to exist as a model?
I think, okay, so here's something that I think maybe more people don't think about or do, but would help and would answer this question for me personally. But I would like to pick a color that serves as the basis for my miniature. Like, for this mini, I would probably pick this dark, warmish blue, right? The base color for her bodysuit blue.
Uh-huh.
And I would paint the whole mini in that color. And then, well, actually, I could just do like a super quick demonstration. I promise this is not turning into a color study, but so like here's Captain Hook, right? And I would paint him completely red.
Okay. That's very red.
And then I would come and then I would come in, with my lighter hues for the things that I'm painting. And for like the shadow colors on this red, I would go with like a purple,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so what this does is it harmonizes your color palette for you. So like because you're using the same color as a base and you're layering your other colors on top of that, you can it harmonizes all of the colors together so that there's some like unity to it. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? So like even though I'm picking, let's say I pick this yellow gold, right, for the tip of his hat for this detailing. Because I'm layering this yellow gold over the red that's already there, it's going to harmonize with the rest of the colors of the mini because they all have that same base tone red.
Okay.
So to answer your question, like what I would do for that gap fill area would be to just make it a dark version of my base color.
Okay. So just throw some black in there or some blue and a very dark blue and desaturate it. Well, not desaturate it, but I guess desaturate it. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
But desaturate it to black rather than white.
Yeah, like the value. Desaturate the value.
You're about to
Right. So
poly
like I
paint Hook,
know
aren't you?
no, I'm not. I'm not gonna do it. But does that answer the question?
I
What I
think
would do
so.
with gap fill
Yeah.
is
So
that I would take my base color and I would just make it deeper, a deeper value of either the base color itself or whatever the surrounding material is, whichever one would work better.
gotcha. Bryce says, need to not get banned. Justin is always worried about it, especially with Proctor. Grazietti says, a valid fear. Proctor doesn't even realize what he's saying / doing most of the time. I don't believe that. I think Proctor always knows what he's saying / doing. He is the master of subtle communication, which is often lost on me, and I think he finds that amusing.
He does. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I just insulted you 10 times and you didn't even notice, which I think is funny. Valandar says, have you ever sculpted for one piece ABS or polystyrene molds? It sucks. Yeah. Yeah, it does.
I had this guy like tried to commission me the other day, and I was like, okay, so is this for printing or casting? And he said casting, and I said, okay, well, what material are you casting in? And he said either metal or cast. And I was like, those are very, very
Well,
different casting methods.
but that's not entirely fair as a Like if he wants it, you said that the other day, and I thought about my reply to that. That's reasonable. If you don't know, or you think you might be doing it in both, you want sculpts that will work for both of those. So yes, they're very different, but I think what he was trying to communicate was metal if I can, but metal's expensive right now. So it might just be
Right.
Siocast.
Well, but he doesn't have like he didn't have Siocast production up and ready, so like
Right.
that wasn't gonna happen. But
Well, it depends on right, but he wanted the model to be able to be cast in either of those mediums, which is fine. You can do that. You do that for Reaper all the time. Like
yeah,
everything you sculpt for them is sculptable in ABS. It's castable in ABS. It's castable in Siocast, and it's castable in metal. Which there are compromises you have to make for each of those mediums, and you get more freedom if you know for sure which one it's going to be produced in. But if there's a possibility that it will be produced in more than one, then you just have to conform to all of those rules, right?
yeah, it was just a lot more limiting to do it that
Yeah.
way.
Valander said, there's a figure by Reaper of a female rogue holding a rope that has gap fill. But in my humble opinion, it's way too much, as there's no seam between the rope and the gap fill. That's an easy mistake to make. We ran into that a little bit with Tiknak. The back of her arm uh, doesn't quite have enough definition between the gap fill, because there's gap fill between Tiknak's head and her arm, and there's not quite enough uh, distinction in there. Here, I'll put her up on the turnaround and show the back. She'll be back around here.
Okay, so here's our non-exclusively net, and then I'll go through and gap fill and do the print pass off stream because that's super tedious stuff.
Yeah, yes it is. So I'll blow this up, and while you're loading up our next file, I'll move this, and we'll look at Tiknak.
What were we
Oh
working
no,
on
not that.
other than this? I was gonna
Probably Buff Bunny,
load
right?
up the trophy so we could look at it.
Oh yeah, we should load up the trophy. Okay, so Tiknak's going to come back around here. And if you look at the hand that has gap fill, from the front, it's fine. It's no problem. And from the back, it's paintable, but the arm does come very close to the gap fill. So it's not, I don't think, enough to go back and edit the sculpt because there is some definition there. And from tabletop, when you look at her come around, again, you can't really see that. But when you're painting it, you can definitely feel that there's gap fill there. Okay, coming back to you.
This version didn't have my M's.
Oh, are you just going to load both images at the same time?
No,
Both
I
models?
can't do that. No, I was talking to this. I saved it without saving the M's in the background or in
Oh,
the back M logo thing.
so you
There
got
it
to do
goes.
that again.
No, I have it. I just had to pull it up from my quick saves
Gotcha.
and save it. Okay,
You
so
could
here it
import
is.
both versions. Just don't you have one that's, oh no, because you don't have one that's combined.
Yeah, I mean, I could upload another version, but it'd be 36 separate subtools.
Well, you could merge visible on this one and then load it into the old file. You're real quiet. You're,
Crap, I don't even know what I saved the other one as. Um, I don't know. I don't want to mess with it
okay.
because I don't remember where I saved it.
So this is
Anyway, here's our Here's our trophy.
Well, this is the whip trophy.
Yeah.
And there are a couple changes, at least I still want to be seen, even if we go with this version. Which I think this version has some advantages. I like how she looks a little more comfortable. I like that. But I don't like how the legs are raised up off the moon without any real reason for them to be. She's just up, her legs are just up in the air. And I think that's a negative.
Yeah. The way it was posed before, um, actually, I'll just pull it
Let's
up
find
on
the
our
old one.
Discord.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
So here's our pose 1 on the left and pose 2 on the right here. So on the left, the things that I liked were that it still captured sort of the pin-uppy pose that I was going for, but she still looked relaxed. Um, and I liked that the arc of the body was an opposite C shape to the arc of the crescent. I thought that was an interesting composition, which was like highlighted by the flow of the fabric coming back this way.
We can't see your mouse, Christy.
I wasn't using
Oh,
my mouse.
okay.
I was using my hands.
Gotcha.
Watch my hands. But the in pose 2, I do think she looks more relaxed, like more sort of in repose, but I feel like it lost some of the pin-uppy or like classiness and just became more playful or like girl next door-ish.
I think that
So
I think the
I think it
majority of
lost
that
a little bit of formality.
I think the majority of that is the legs are just look really broken in the second image. So it's hard. I can't judge. The legs break it so much I can't see past it. But
Okay.
I want to.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so that's where we're at. We're still tweaking with it and working with it. But we put
uh,
our little logo in the back moon there.
Phalandar
Then it'll
says, on
have
the left, she seems more eager to see the recipient of the trophy, and on the right, she seems more relaxed. I completely agree with that. Sorry, go ahead, Christy. I cut you off.
I don't remember what I was saying. Anyway, that's the trophy. We're working on it.
I agree with him on the flow and the uh, logistics, the physics of the pose. But
Agree with who? I don't know what you're talking about.
with
Who said what that you're agreeing with?
Chris Lewis, I agree with him on the logistics of how you posed it. Buff Bunny.
Yeah, I haven't really touched her much since we were working on her on stream last time, but
Okay. Well, at first glance, it definitely seems feminine to me, which it did not before to several people joining us on the stream. I don't know what the chat consensus is, but is it obvious that this is a female rabbit? Is the question.
I think it's a little deceptive to see it for the first time with color
That's fair.
because,
Because the
like,
face alone will convey femininity.
well, because color dictates so much of our impression of something, and I've used very light kind of feminine colors, and then the purple is like a very feminine color, so it's not really fair to see it in color and then
Well, let's turn that off. Maybe someone will join us in the middle of this. We can get their impression. Well, we need a little bit of color because that's hard to see. I think the butt cape is obscuring anatomy, maybe unnecessarily. What does she look like without the butt cape entirely? One of the things you were trying to do was preserve musculature, and maybe that's one of the places we can do that. Of course, you'd have to define that a little as pants, but
yeah. I keep meaning to map these brushes and keep forgetting to. Starting to get very annoying to myself.
which brushes are we talking about? H polish?
Age polish and poly paint brush.
Mm.
I gotta like type it in every single time I go to that brush. It's so annoying.
You don't know how happy it makes me to hear that having to use a three-stroke hotkey is annoying. You
Yeah,
fought
you've
me.
officially corrupted me.
You fought me so hard on using macros when you first started. It was my one condition when I bought you ZBrush. I was like, I will buy this for you and the computer and the everything, but you will make 4 macros with this keypad I also bought you for that setup, and you will learn them. And you were
Yeah.
like, no. Valandar says, just got an order for a massive amount of work. Plus side, it's half up front. Awesome.
Nice.
You did a bunch of work a while back for Atlas, didn't you? Did that go through? Ah, Valandar said, no, the Atlas deal fell through. The other company's side, not Atlas. Man, you were
Ah,
hooking them up too. You gave them a tremendous deal. Too bad. Epic says, still haven't got macros to work on my Ryzen keypad. And Valandar said, they have told me I'm on call if they need someone, though. That's good. A good contact. I'm not familiar with the Ryzen. Oh, Razer Tartarus version 2. That's the same thing Christie's using. So we should fix that for you.
yeah.
Yeah. What problem are you having? What you working on here, Christy? What are we doing?
I'm just cleaning up some of these metal bit edges. I was adding straps to the back of the shin guards. What do you call those? I should really
Greaves?
learn the names of armor
Are greaves
parts.
on wrist or are those the ones on the calves?
That's a wrist thing, I thought. Maybe not. I don't know.
I'm concerned that those raised elements in the breast panels are going to print poorly, but we'll see in the test print.
Okay.
I think we're dealing with parts that are so small that adding texture to them in a heavily textured area is going to deviate from your very uh, elegant, simplistic style. He said macro entry gets stuck on the final keystroke. Um, in the Razer software, your key presses are all logged, right? And you can go in and edit what the key presses are, and you can manually add them. What it sounds like is probably happening for you if you review that key sequence is the key up of your last keystroke is probably uh, being left out. So the button is getting pressed down, but is never being let go of if it's getting stuck on the final keystroke. Is it not doing the final keystroke at all, or is it just getting stuck there? Also, for ZBrush, we had to add a slight delay, like a 0.1 second delay between each keystroke. Because ZBrush, you press the button, the menu opens, and then you press the next one. Uh, Christy has a pretty monstrous computer, but even with that, uh, if you don't add a delay, it can't accept the command until the menu is open. So you have to give it like a tenth of a second to open the menu. That's actually probably what's going on. It's just opening up and then you're left with the final option. Is that right? Last character repeats like over and over and over again. Yeah, then you probably don't have the key up for the last one. It's probably just holding it down. You can also in Razer, uh, in their software, you can also set something to repeat press the key to loop it until you press it again. So make sure you don't have it set to play on loop, that you have it to run the macro a single time. But if one of those things don't fix it, well, here, let's just do it on your stream, Christy. He's struggling with the thing you want to do anyway. Let's set up your macro.
Okay.
We'll walk through
Hang
how
on,
we
let
do
me
that.
save this. I go to my Synapse, I click my
Bring
keypad
it over
here.
onto your whole
It
screen.
is. Oh, you're like way delayed.
Yeah.
Um, so I have this set up. These are all my macro buttons.
Mm-hmm.
But a few of these I don't really use, like the W. I don't use that.
Okay, so first we'll
Oh
go to
yeah, I
macros
use
up
that
on
one.
the top, right?
C and V. I don't use CC there. I could use those. Um,
Well, first we have to create the macro for what you want it to do. So up at the top, click on macros.
there's no macros. What are you talking about?
Way up top where it says keyboard.
It says mouse.
Oh, it sure does. I'll be damned. Oh, they changed it. Okay. Well, when you unhid that, it gave you a macro option.
You just have to click a key.
Okay. Well, let's do that then.
So like we'll go here and like you click this key that you want to bind. And then you do keyboard function or macro.
Macro
And then
because you want it to press
macros.
more than one key, right?
Right. So there's the macro.
That's better. That's a better UI.
Play once. So make sure this is not at play multiple times. Just once. And then configure macro. You add a new one. Name BPA. Oh wait, record BPA. And then you can see here what there's like a down and then up, down, up, down, up. So make sure there's a down and an up for each key that you want to record. And then this is like, it says like a second
Right, which is way more time
thingy.
than you need. Each one of those could be just 0.1 instead of so you change each of these to 0.1.
I don't know how to change it.
On the right-hand side, it says delay.
Yeah.
So you select the one
But
and you
you don't
change
want to
it
delay
to
the
point
first
0.1.
one. You don't want
Correct.
to delay
Yeah,
the
you don't
first
need
one.
any delay for the first one. Oh, I'm so proud of you that you remember that. We
I
taught
know,
you that
right?
like 2 years ago, and you don't make very
Sometimes I'll
many of
listen.
these. And I'm not
Yeah,
sure
so
that you
then you
need the
change
delay
both.
on the key up. You probably don't need the delay on the key up.
Are you sure?
I think that you don't. But we'll try it and see. Try it without it because that'll make it press faster. And the same thing for the other two key ups.
I did already. Are you not watching?
I'm behind. So,
Oh,
and if I'm behind, so is everybody. Oh, you know what? I'm watching on the stream instead of in Streamlabs because I'm an idiot. Idiot. You
you
are.
idiot.
You are an idiot. Ha, 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 ha.
What are you talking about?
I don't know if you remember that. It's before your time. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this. And
Where do you hit save? I
it should
forgot.
already be saved. I think it saves in real time.
Okay.
But remember what the
So
macro is named, right? Because what did you name this one?
I didn't type in a
Well,
name.
scroll down and it'll have a name. This is up. Find the green name.
Where? Oh, the green name. It's called
There it
Macro
is.
3.
So probably
Eh,
rename it to something a little better.
Poly Paint.
There you go. And then now you go back to your keyboard and make sure that it's set to that and press the button. See? It works.
It didn't work.
You didn't set it to the key, I think. So go back to your keyboard software.
Oh, didn't I? I thought I did.
I
I
don't
thought
think
I
you did.
assigned it.
No, because you didn't have
Nope.
the macro yet. So
Nope, I didn't. Okay. So we want to assign it to Poly Paint.
Polypaint. Mm-hmm.
Save.
There you go. And make sure it's on play once.
Boom.
And
Done.
now press it. Boom. There you go. Hopefully that solves your problem. Let me tab back over and check chat. Epic says, interesting, my interface still has macro at the top. You might need to update. I think there's also a plugin that puts it at the top. But either way, does that solve your issue? Any of those steps is the question. Great. Glad to hear it. If you have a slower computer, you might need to change these settings to like 0.2 seconds instead of 0.1. You don't want it to be longer than you need because then it takes forever once you press the button before you can use your pen. But it has to be at least as long as your computer needs to open the menu and select the buttons. Epic says he must have deleted the up and or down keystrokes on a couple. Very possible. Probably the up, because if it kept pressing, that means it just wasn't letting go of that button forever.
You know what other, the last one that I need to do. So I programmed Polypaint, I programmed H-Polish.
Let's see H-Polish, because...
I did, it's right here. Oh, you're still delayed.
Oh yeah, I'm back looking at it on chat again, because I'm an idiot. I guess I could refresh it. That might get me caught up on chat.
The last one that I need to do is the letter C, because C color picks from wherever you have your mouse hovered over. So while I'm poly painting, I use C a lot, and I have to like type it on my keyboard for no reason.
Okay.
But we got to figure out I closed Razor. We got to figure out a good key for that.
All right.
I think size, dance standard.
Well,
F might be good, or R. Yeah, this R would be really good if we could do this one. And I don't use R, so we'll just do this one.
Okay.
Keyboard function, rebind key to C.
R, C. Yeah, that.
So now this is C. So now
I'm sure that was really boring for some of our viewers, but
boom, C, 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 C. Love it. Okay. C.
So that's a really boring step, right? Like that's a terrible, it just consumed like 10 minutes of the stream and 10 minutes of everybody's lives, and that seems horrific. The positive side of that is it will continually save you seconds. So if you're only doing it one time, you're only ever messing with a program one time, then it's not worth it. But really by the third or fourth time you've used the software, it starts paying for itself. And after you've used it 10 or 11 times, it not only has it paid for itself time-wise, it has paid for itself exponentially and will continue to pay off forever. Keybinds, macros are probably the single most important thing you can do when you're starting to use new software. Epic says, thank you so much for helping me with that. My keybind has been collecting dust for a bit. Or keyboard. Keybond. Valander said, the only hotkey I've ever used in ZBrush, I've changed Control U to split unmasked. Not sure if I would ever use or keybind macro keyboards like that. The cat likes water. That is amazing. I'm not sure what that's a reference to, but I think he's mocking me for liking keybinds.
You have become like the spokesperson for Keybuy. Or for macros in general.
Oh, Valandar said it's about his cat. I missed it. I had to read up. I got behind while we were working on macros. Well, just learned something new about my 17-year-old cat. He turned on a faucet to fill a big bowl and came back in to find her under the faucet, letting it pour over her back and purring as she did. The cat was taking a shower in his sink and it turned the water on by itself. That
What?
is insane. Cats don't do that. I feel like you're going to have to
That's weird.
capture video footage of this to prove it.
Video or it didn't happen.
Oh, he had turned the water on, but the cat came in. Yeah, we need a video of cat taking an intentional rolling around in the sink. So I think I like her better without the front cape. What do you think? I mean, sorry, without the back cape. The front cape I like. It's adding some femininity.
Well, honestly, like the whole cape situation, fabric situation in general, was something that I was aiming to avoid.
Oh, okay. Well, then let's ditch it.
Like, I thought if it was possible to capture the femininity without having flowy fabric,
Ah, okay.
I would like to do that. But it was starting to seem like that was not going to be a doable thing. So I gave up. But maybe if we bring this, make this metal thong.
I don't think it needs to be a thong. I think it should just be in front of the rabbit. But pants. She should have pants. And she could have a bikini bottom on her back. That'd be okay. Doesn't necessarily need to be metal.
I do think the deeper V is working.
Yeah, that's helping a lot, I think. I think you were trying to clock the calves with the metal on the front of her shins, but I'm not sure that it is tilted enough to convey that. One of the things I'm wondering is perhaps tapering the outside edges of those, right? So making them more hourglass shaped on her calves.
Okay. I can try that.
Valandar says this is the same cat that can jump 5 feet from her bed to the 3 foot bookcase, then 3 feet straight up to the row of 6 foot bookcases. Yeah. Cats are insane. Crazy animals. Oh, I have something else I would like to show. It's just the prototype. Packaging.
Oh, yeah. Kyle's been very excited about this. He's been working pretty hard at it. Oh no!
What'd you do?
I broke one of my other brushes.
What'd you do? How'd you break it?
Because I do BCB for cube brush,
Oh,
and I moved where the C is for okay, so BCB. I just have to learn a different
so
placement. It's actually like an easier placement there.
okay.
I just have to relearn that.
Adapting. Adapting is good. All right, so let me move this out of here, turn this off, and move some models out of the way.
It's just that muscle memory that I gotta fix. That's all.
That takes longer than you'd think, but not as long as you would fear. I don't know how to word that better than that. That's let's Let's see if we come a little further away from that. Okay, so here is our box. These are the boxes that we're planning on using for our subscription service, the Loot Crate stuff on Patreon. So the box, we decided to go with black instead of blue, but we don't have the black boxes yet. And this is the prototype. The colors aren't great, but
Well, we have the big black box.
we do. Well, but that's already prepped for shipping. So, and then inside, right, you've got the, well, it's got to fold out of the way so I can show it, but inside, the models, and for the subscription service, we'll send these out zenithal primed. I should make this bigger so people can actually see what I'm talking about, huh?
Probably.
Oh, yes. Super proud of this. You're right.
Should be. It's a great solution.
It's taken some time. Okay. So inside the box, complete with inserts, which are a pain in the neck to make, but I think worth it. They hold the models pretty firmly. They come out, but with a little bit of a tug, right? Which is good. And then hold in there pretty good. They kind of snap in, which should keep them from breaking for shipping. And then Christy came up with this idea, which I already contaminated this box, but because we want to do the articles and stuff with the ship boxes, because the ones we ordered are going to be solid black, in and out, and then we'll do some black paper here to hold printouts of the articles for the 3 models that month. So for people that don't print their own stuff, they can subscribe, get a really great deal on the models as they come out, and this is how they'll come. We also want to do some 5th edition stat cards for each model, which should be fun. That's that.
Bryce just recently got one of our packages and said that the packaging was very nice and functional. So that was good to hear.
Yes, I'm glad that he liked that. He's one of our test subjects. Let me put some random stuff back up here. That's a Reaper model.
Are you putting Reaper models?
One Reaper model. I mean, you made it. It's the barmaid. Valandar asked if we're using vacuum forming for the molding. Yes, we are. Bryce said the shipping plastic works great. Mine showed up perfect. And Epic said, I did some packing using dental vacuum form machine, and I wish I had a larger machine. I'm betting we're using the same machine, Epic Miniatures. Is it the round one with the diamond on the front? It had really great reviews, and so we ordered one. It wasn't too expensive. It was expensive, like $140 or something like that. Yeah, it's a blue machine. Yep. That's it.
Yeah, we also have noticed that we wish that we could make some bigger molds for like the larger shipping boxes for our larger sets of minis. Like the Neverland Pirates has like 6 minis in it, so it would be nice to be able to like have one vacuum form for all of them together. But for now, and because our monthly releases are only 3-figure sets, uh, it's working pretty well for that. And our boxes, we've been able to double stack, so we can do like a set of 3 on the bottom and a set of 3 on top usually.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that works too. But yeah, if we could, eventually, I think we'll invest in a bigger one. But for now, it's doing the job.
Epic Adventure Miniatures linked it. That is exactly what we use. That is the tool. It's about $145. You can get it on Amazon. The sheets for it, the ones we found were like $250 a sheet, and so you can cut those into quarters to put in the vacuum former. So a little over about 65 cents a sheet per layer, which isn't too bad. It's much more expensive than other packing solutions, but uh, having to reship something because something broke in shipping is way more expensive. So Valander says the wet elderly cat is chasing the other two cats at Mach 50 through the house. I have never seen a cat that wants to like hang out under the faucet before. That's really weird. I think honestly, with this one, you could make clamshell inserts epic, depending on the size of your clamshell. It tried to hold Valendar's chat message about Maine Coons because of the second half of Maine Coons. Chat
Oops.
filters for the win. Valandar says he's seen cats that like water, but they were usually Maine Coons or Norwegian forest cats. Oh, I need to catch back up on what you're doing. What is this? What is this diamond thing?
This is our spearhead.
Okay. Epic for our inserts, what we did, well, what I did, Christy could not see it, so I had to make it and show her. We took failed prints and some epoxy sculpt, and then I built up the epoxy sculpt around the failed print, leaving very minor underhangs, which would be just enough to grab the miniature, but preferably around the base. Uh, but we tried to leave one someplace else also, so if we were sending a baseless miniature, uh, it could do that too. Bryce says that former is so cool. It is. It is so cool, and it is the most fun thing to use. It's so satisfying. Valandar says, to be honest, that is a slur down here in the south, though not one used much anymore. Yeah, I mean, I've lived here for very South Texas, very small town for going on 7 years now, and have never heard anybody.
Never heard anyone say that here, no.
Although I've never heard anybody say anything racially derogative anyway, in total. It's just not. I'm sure those people exist. I've just never run into them. Epic says getting the timing right on heating up was a bit of a learning curve. Yeah, that's definitely true. You wind up with some where it's too soft, or some that it's not soft enough, and then it doesn't work. But it only took like 3 sheets to get it. Epic says the too soft has been a challenge for me. What I started doing was uh, I start with it way up all the way against the heating element because there are 2 tiers to the melting thing. And I start with it all the way against the heating element until it first starts to bow downward. As soon as it starts to bow downward, I lower it down to the next one. And I move the heating element from one corner of the square to the other because the heating element is round. That's my one critique about the piece, is that the heating element should really be square to heat a square piece of plastic. Um, so I move it from one corner to the other, and I let it go until the whole thing is drooping on 20 mil, about an inch and a half. And I try to try to go just until the corners are starting to droop too. As soon as the corners start to droop, that seems to be the perfect time, assuming you've got it on the second down position. And then once you've got a good inch and a half droop, you can raise it back up, and then that will help the corners droop more. Even with an inch droop, you can raise it back up. So it seems to be start high, move it down a tier, let it droop a little more until the middle is at least an inch down, raise it back up until the corners are nice and droopy, and then slam it on. That's it. Sorry, I commandeered your stream, Christy.
He says that's it, like that's like simple or something.
In practice, it is. It's not like you gotta hurry. It takes about 30 seconds to properly melt one. Make sure you've given it plenty of time to preheat. That's important. But of all the things we've bought recently, short of the 3D printers, which is just mind-blowingly cool, it's the coolest thing we've bought. And it is definitely the most fun thing to use, because 3D printers are not fun, right? They suck. They're cool and exciting, but as far as something that's, ooh, I want to use this thing, no. Every time we get a shipment, I'm excited to go make the packaging. I get to go make the package.
Yeah.
Oh, this is cool. You answered me, but then I got distracted with chat. What are we sculpting?
The spearhead.
Oh, okay. You're like, why are you asking a question? I'm not listening to the answer. I was topping to Epic Adventure Miniatures. And Bryce a little bit, because I think he thought it was cool too. If you replied, you didn't give time for your mic to pick up.
Yeah. I was totally okay with you rambling.
You're like, you were filling air while I wouldn't have been able to talk anyway.
Yeah.
A thing that happens. I'll go grab the vacuum form mold.
So he makes the molds out of the failed test prints and then like fills them with epoxy sculpt. Mostly just because that's the only thing I knew how to use.
Yeah, I asked you, hey, what can I use to make these molds with?
And I was like, I would use epoxy sculpt. That's what I would do. But like, I'm not a professional. I don't know.
Hashtag not a professional.
Yeah.
Okay, so I put them on the camera. I'll blow that up again. Yeah, Bryce says, oh, I would play with that for sure. Yeah, me too. So make these bigger. Bring them in front. Nope. That is the wrong thing to bring in front. There we go.
I do think it's cute to see you get excited about things like I get excited about new paints or something. I'm just like, ooh, but all the things I could do with this color. You have no idea how much I've wanted this color. I didn't even know existed.
And so they sit like Thea is. Thea's the one sitting down. I'll tilt the other one down too.
Oh, you're smoking the funnel cake one.
The funnel cake one. This pipe smells like funnel cake to you?
It does.
So that's how we make them.
But we found that it's been really durable for shipping and it's protected some of our more fragile models. We have been experimenting with like different resin mixtures to, you know, offset any fragility in the actual sculpt. Experimenting with like Vulcan resins and 3DRS,
Yeah.
which is it's a process. um,
Epic says, oh, wow, that is way faster than what I did. And chances are the polymer clay is going to resist the heat better than the FDM prints did. Yeah, the polymer clay actually does a great job of pulling the heat out of the plastic once it's molded to it, which is super helpful in demolding them because you don't have to wait forever. You just vacuum form it, take it out, and then trim it, and then I pull them out, and that's all it takes. Our initial attempt was I loaded up ZBrush and I tried to do all these different things, like with the fabric tool and with like so many different ways, modeling, uh, making an STL, intentionally printing it uh, as the mold. And by the end of 2 days of mucking with that, I was like, there has to be a better way of doing this. And there was a busted Tic-Tac sitting next to me. And I was like, I have some like old clay in the garage. And so I thought about using clay. Uh, the problem with the clay, although it worked, was once it got hot, it got sticky. So even though it hardened, it didn't handle the heat well. And once it got sticky, it was leaving bits of clay inside the plastic when we demolded it. So that wasn't going to work. And then I just asked Christy, hey, what can I bake? And she said, well, I use polymer clay. And that goes in the oven just fine. And so I ordered epoxy sculpt, which is what Patrick Keith told her to use back when she was still doing physical sculpts. And it worked great. Which I guess I used the wrong word there because that's not a polymer clay. It's an epoxy. 2-part epoxy resin. So you're putting a lot of detail into this spearhead. Oh, that was the other critique of the Mini, the sword. When we looked at the sword, there were a couple of the cracks that read as they were too intentional. We both knew we were going to think of something.
yeah.
There was one other model that we had that was an older model, and when I was zenithal priming it, there were some details that didn't show up quite how we wanted, how we wish they would have. So now, before we publish anything, we print and zenithal prime it, which I think has improved things quite a bit.
Yeah, I think so.
It is about a half hour over.
Okay.
Epic says I created a shape out of the same dimensions as my clamshell and shared an image on Discord in the Art General chat. Let's see. That looks really clean. Yeah, that looks pretty great. Is that the STL or is that actually a print? That looks like an STL, right? Yeah, it's the STL. Okay. Says the depth of the cavity is pretty deep, so that causes issue with the vacuum form. We were able to do models on 2-inch bases with the 2-inch base front to back without an issue. Like the blue caterpillar, she sits pretty deep in. Here, I'll go get the box that has a blue caterpillar in it. So this is in 20 mil plastic, polystyrene. Pull this up bigger so we can see again. It doesn't make for the most beautiful solution because I am clumsy, but it does absolutely protect things like that delicate pipe through shipping. Yeah, if you're doing negative forms, you have to drill little holes in it. Otherwise, it won't be able to pull vacuum into your recesses. All right, Christy, you want to talk about what you're doing before we close out and start getting some dinner going?
Uh, so right now I'm just building a transition to where the staff is gonna insert into the spearhead. The design is mostly just kind of like victorious. Like I want it to feel very, like the shape language of like a Gothic cathedral, where like the attention is all elevated. Everything is like
Yeah.
elongated and arcs,
Mm-hmm.
and even the pillars that flare out, like flare up and out. So it's all this very like enlightened sort of shape language. That's kind of the idea with the design I'm going for here. It's that I'm trying to capture something that's kind of cathedral-esque in its enlightened motif.
Epic Adventure Miniatures says, really digging the spearhead. He says, yeah, radiant shapes.
Yeah. I think this might need like, yeah.
Yeah, that's better.
I don't know. There's something like really satisfying about spearheads because they can really just be like any shape. So you can really just kind of go crazy with them as long as they have like a point.
As long as it's overall a triangle, right? Or diamond.
Yeah. Spearhead shapes, just in case I need to come back and edit that. But
All right.
um,
I'm going to get us set
gonna
up to raid Reaper.
okay, I'm just gonna merge this and then put this into our main file so we can see it on the
Yeah.
mini. Oh, and I gotta take transform off. There we go. And I want to make it big and beautiful, so
Nothing about this bunny is small.
maybe like a bit thinner than that. I may give the spearhead some flowy fabric,
Oh, I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
like a little ribbon or something coming off of this here,
Yeah.
underneath the head. I think that might be cool.
Yep, I agree.
So that's where we're at on here.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Hope you had a good time, learned a few things.
And we will be back on Tuesday, same time from 1 to 3. And I guess we'll probably do a master color study on our next
Well, that'd
stream.
be fun.
So Tuesday, if you want to learn more about colors and how we apply colors using reference, tune in and we will do a master color study next Tuesday.
Epic says, yeah, like her own maypole. And Bryce says, makes me think of Princess Bride, where Wesley tells Andre to sleep well and dream of large women. And Epic is very excited about your color study.
Well, if you have like a particular artist you want to submit for that you like, put it in our Discord and we'll put it in the lineup for masters to study.
Sounds good. All right,
Yeah.
everybody, we're going to raid. Stick around for the raid. There aren't very many of us today. I think most of our viewers are already over there. But at least we can raid with a few. So here we go. About 7 seconds left. Anything you want to say as we sign out?
No, have a great weekend.
Mm-hmm.